The air in the Dingle household was thick, not merely with the lingering scent of stale fear and Marlton's frustrated sweat, but with the absolute, paralyzing understanding of defeat. The silence that followed Ray's departure was a heavy, suffocating shroud, punctuated only by the shallow, ragged breaths of Rona. She stood frozen, the discarded rubber gloves meant for mundane chores lying uselessly on the kitchen counter, symbolizing the life of normalcy that had shattered hours earlier. Marlon, the man who had always sought comfort in predictability and routine, was now staring into the abyss of his own terrible miscalculation. He had believed in justice, he had believed that exposing the scum would liberate his family. Instead, he had only drawn the viper closer. He had given the police names, crimes, and details of his wife's prior assault. But the law, he learned, moved at a glacial pace, a pace his family could not afford when Ray operated with the instant, brutal efficiency of a predator. "You will make it worse, Dad, okay?" April's desperate plea still echoed in his mind. She had been right. They went in, they fought, and they came home only to be cornered. Ray's words were branded onto Marlon's soul. "You even glance at a copper. And you cost me money. You still owe me." Rona, her shoulders shaking with silent, exhausted sobs, slowly walked to the hallway closet. The shock of Ray's arrival had masked the immediate danger, but now, the pieces of their nightmare fit together with agonizing clarity. She pulled open the closet door and reached for a dusty toolbox on the top shelf, where she remembered seeing Ray hide something. Her fingers closed around cold, heavy metal and packaged white powder. They were Ray's. He had been using their home as a dangerous sanctuary and Marlon had been looking after his dangerous stuff. "We can't live like this, Marlon," she whispered, the raw terror in her voice a stark contrast to the casual domesticity of their home. "We gather what evidence we've got. And we get out," Marlon stated, his voice a low, gravelly rasp, the decision etched in stone. "We take Leo, we take April, we take Ivy. It's done. They win. We lose. It's over. We've got to go, Rona. All of us, tomorrow. We're doing it." The clock ticked past 1 a.m. Marlon and Rona were in the kitchen, packing in manic, hushed coordination. Marlon wore the desperate look of a man who had already failed his family once and knew this was his last chance. "The burner phone," Rona urged, tapping the cold, plastic evidence bag holding Ray's concealed stash. "You said the police need evidence, right? So we give them evidence." Marlon shook his head, his hands trembling as he taped shut a small, worn suitcase for April. "No. Not now. We don't contact them again. Ray's watching. He knows I went to the cop shop. If I send them the phone now, he'll know it came from here. It validates the names I gave them but it also signs our death warrant before we even reach the next county." Rona pressed him, her eyes wide with frantic logic. "But if we leave without giving them the evidence, they walk free. You told the police it was about crimes and the assault on me. They'll be back to attack my family again, just like you told that detective." "And what about remand?" Marlon countered bitterly, recalling the detective's dismissive response. "Without evidence, they can't keep them locked up long enough. We need to be gone first. We pack light. BB. No one knows. We work on April, convince her that we can face this together, later, when we're safe." He paused, looking at the bag of Ray's things, realizing the horrifying implication of the contents, the drugs, the cash, possibly the weapon he'd heard described in the police waiting room, the sharp, sickening sound of the gunshot that seemed to echo in the halls of his memory. He had to get this toxic evidence away from his children. He wrapped the evidence bag tightly in a thick towel and shoved it deep into an old rucksack, ready to dispose of it miles away. Marlon had told Rona they weren't being watched all the time. He was wrong. Miles away, in a dimly lit warehouse overlooking the village, Ray was not dressed for date night. He was dressed in his normal, casual attire of cold authority. He was staring at a bank of monitors displaying feeds from hidden cameras placed strategically around Marlon's neighborhood. Celia, the seemingly mild-mannered housewife, paced nervously. "I swear, I don't understand. Mumsy housewife has turned your brain into a cupcake," she sneered, recalling Ray's earlier, flippant comment. "He's alive. The Dylan kid. You saw what you did. I saw what you did. How is he still breathing?" Ray tapped a screen showing a faint light flickering in the Dingle kitchen. "He's Teflon, I told you. But he's not. He's just a kid. And he's in a coma. Life support. Touch and go. We pray for vegetable, right?" Ray's smile was chilling, devoid of remorse. Celia continued her frantic assessment. "Marlon went to the cops. He gave them names. He's already made a move. And I corrected his mistake," Ray said smoothly. "I reminded him of his precious ones. I reminded him of Pierce. I told him he cost me money. He's broken. Now, he's just gathering the pieces to flee. We let him think he has control." Celia looked worriedly at the monitor. "And what about Ted?" "Ted knows nothing. That's what you decided. Ray turned, his face hardening instantly. I have decided that he is a threat, and we can't take the risk. The old man is still breathing, Celia, why? Ted was too close to Bear. Bear was too close to Dylan. The nodding. The whispers. It all connects. If Dylan wakes up, even as a vegetable, he might mutter a name. If Ted remembers something before I decided he was nothing, it jeopardizes everything. I will do it myself, Celia offered, her voice cold with resolve. Ray shook his head slowly, a terrifying paternalism in his eyes. No, no, no. You've done enough. Focus on the money. I need absolute silence on the Dylan incident, especially at the hospital. But Ted? Ted needs a permanent, silent disposal. And I have just the person for a clean exit. Meanwhile, in Laurel's lovely home, Laurel found herself still awake, fretting about the upheaval. Her conversation with Marlon earlier had revealed a deep current of fear running through the community. Arthur, roused by the late-night anxiety in the house, came downstairs, clutching a worn comic book. "Mom," he asked, his voice sleepy. "About April's boyfriend. Dylan. Hit and run?" "Yes, sweetheart," Laurel replied sadly. "Is that why you guys were talking about the rubber gloves earlier?" Arthur asked innocently. Laurel forced a smile. "No, darling. That was just about cleaning up a bit. You know, you offered to help me, you good boy." Arthur frowned. "But Daddy said, chuck me the rubber gloves and run?" What was Marlon going to do? Was he going to clean up where Dylan got run over? Laurel felt a sudden, sharp coldness. Arthur's innocent retelling highlighted the sheer level of desperation Marlon and Rona were operating under. It wasn't just about cleaning, it was about covering up, acting. Marlon's phrase, "I'm done with thinking. It's time for action," now sounded like a dangerous prophecy. Laurel thought about Ray, who had been sitting right here, praising her lovely home and lovely family, all while Dylan was fighting for his life. Ray had been so kind to Dylan, playing pool with him, sending his love. She suddenly recalled the brief, chilling moment when she and Patty mentioned Ray's haste to leave the hospital and she had tried to joke about it. "What? You're telling me you didn't even notice?" She had been too tired and scared to have an opinion, but now, the pieces felt horribly aligned. She made a decision. She had to talk to Ray. She had to understand why he seemed so calm amidst the chaos. The hospital room was sterile and silent, a cruel contrast to the internal chaos raging within Mandy. Dylan lay motionless, his head wrapped in bandages, breathing through a tube. The rhythmic beep-beep-beep of the life support machine was a constant, unbearable reminder of how close he was to becoming a vegetable. Mandy had called Patty, giving him the grim updates. They don't even know what he's going to be like if he wakes up. If he's going to have brain damage or anything. A nurse quietly entered the room to adjust the IV drip. Mandy leaned closer to Dylan, whispering, "You gotta wake up, love. You gotta tell them who did this. Leaving him in the road like that. Some people are just monsters." Unbeknownst to Mandy, a figure in a standard hospital orderly uniform was watching the room from the security camera feed down the hall. This figure was Ray's designated cleaner. Ray had guaranteed that Dylan would not wake up and talk. The cleaner was there to ensure that if, by some miracle, Dylan's swelling brain showed any sign of recovery, the life support would experience a catastrophic, permanent failure. The cleaner adjusted a subtle wire beneath his uniform. He was waiting for the perfect moment, a lapse in nurse vigilance, to strike and silence the victim forever. The focus of Ray's operation had shifted entirely to Ted. Ray now knew that the seemingly innocuous old man, who had suddenly switched from the nickname Bear to Ted because he didn't want any trouble, was now his most immediate risk, more so than the fleeing Dingles. Ray found Ted working quietly in a local garage, attempting to keep his head down and ignore the village gossip. "Ted," Ray's voice was smooth, deadly. "I need to talk about Dylan." Ted flinched visibly. "I didn't say now to the police. I can't remember. Honest. I know you didn't say anything to the police, Ted. But you saw him before. You were nodding to each other. What did he say to you?" Ted grew defensive, his fear turning to misplaced defiance. "He didn't say now to me. I've done out wrong. I just want to keep my head down." Ray moved closer, eliminating Ted's personal space. "I need people I can trust, Bear. But you're not Bear anymore, are you? You're Ted. And Ted is useless to me. Bear had loyalty. Ted has fear." In a shocking, unexpected move, Ray didn't threaten Ted with words. He pulled out his phone and played a short, grainy video clip. It was of a car, speeding, the impact muffled, then the sound of metal scraping pavement. "That was me," Ray confessed softly, "putting Dylan where he belongs. And I know you were there, too, Ted. Hidden in the shadows. You saw the whole thing." Ted's eyes went wide with pure, unadulterated terror. "No. I was told he was dead. I was told it was all sorted. You decided he was dead.